So remember the exchange between Republican lawmaker Mr. Gaetz and the Defense Secretary Mr. Austin? Okay, some of the question they were asking was, how come do you promise you're going to pull the troops out of Afghanistan and it's going to be very peaceful and it's going to be very efficient? And in fact, what we're seeing it was a big mess, and actually we have left the enemy in Afghanistan even stronger. With that being said, we're going to have to go back and then fight the enemy again. So that was one thing, and Mr. Austin, the defense secretary, was completely unable to provide an answer to that. So some of the questions that Mr. Gaetz, the congressman, lawmaker, was asking the defense secretary was actually legitimate. So some of these questions are actually questions myself I've been doing my best to provide an answer to. For some reason, nobody clearly knows what's going on. And another point that Mr. Gaetz made was, we promised that the Russians aren't going to win in Ukraine, that they're actually going to lose the war. And obviously, when you're seeing what's going on in Ukraine, it's pretty obvious that the Ukrainians are the one losing the war. So another theory that I have is actually, how do the media is portraying the Russians are losing, meanwhile not a bomb yet landed in Russia? And if you're looking at what's going on the ground here in Ukraine, the city's completely obliterated. In my personal opinion, what I do think it is a diversion to not really question what's going on the ground. It's a way to not asking what we're doing with all these helps that we're sending to Ukraine, because obviously you just have to look at what's going on. It's simply not working. Clearly it's simply not working. So in my personal opinion, I think that more needs to be done. And Mr. Austin, to claim that they're making progress in Ukraine is actually a big lie. And I do believe that some of these military top generals in the Biden administration must be appealed before Congress to answer questions, because there's a lot of misinformation being shared around, because we all know not a bomb yet landed in Russia, and Ukrainian people, their cities are being really obliterated. Even if they reach victory, I don't think there's any good reason to celebrate, actually, because it's all messed up there. Regarding socialism as an effective way to combat what's going on in China, this term is kind of laughable, but I do believe that there must be a thorough investigation to really determine if these allegations are actually true. So we don't know yet. But one thing I want to reiterate actually is that we might as well get along with China. And if we ended up in a hot war with China, this is going to be much more of a severe impact for the United States. Not only, some people, they need to actually really understand what's going on. It's not like we're going to be here peacefully and sending all tons of bombs in Russia and then obliterate their country as if Russia is doing to Ukraine. It's not going to be the same thing with China at all. And if we're going to be in a hot war with China, here in America, we're going to have to pay the price. But with that being said, it's better to get along with your enemy rather than putting up a fight with them. So I'm very not pro-war, although I study a lot of war, but I'm really not a pro-war guy between nations. So it does not make any sense, and we have to come up with some form of understanding rather than, keep enforcing the arm race and then get into a hot war with the country. It's not going to end up well with the United States at all. The discussion got even heated up when they both bring up the hypersonic, when Mr. Gaetz blamed the defense secretary for falling behind on hypersonic airplanes. This is something that must be also investigated. And I think if that's true, that is a complete embarrassment for the United States if we're falling behind on hypersonic airplanes. And I think the United States must address that issue. For one of the most powerful country in the world, it does not make any sense that some of these countries, China or Russia, are ahead of us when it comes to hypersonic capabilities. That's all the conversation I wanted to do today, and I'm very glad that I put it out there so you guys can always have a open discussion about all these issues. I think they're pretty interesting, and they should be addressed, and America alone should address those things. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.